Oh no.
Missing.
Greg?
Missing.
I thought this was a duet.
Missing.
Oh, so you're just gonna sing all the parts? Those are not the right sounds.
Missing.
Can you hear me?
Missing. Oh, missing.
Bonk.
Welcome to Miss Thing. I'm Greg.
And I'm Tim, and this is a podcast that celebrates and appreciates the Miss Things of the past, present, and future.
Yeah, in every episode we do this incredible thing, which is take a key moment from our Miss Thing's storied career and do what we do best, which is make it all about us. Oh, you okay?
Sorry, I was like holding in a cough and I didn't want to ruin your intro.
It's kind of a rude thing to do while I'm talking.
I was holding in it. So
well, you didn't exactly hold it in. It actually sort of came out.
At the end. No, at the end.
At the end.
Yeah.
At the end when we were in silence, almost. When you were in silence, when I was talking.
You were just talking for too long, and I was kind of like, let me chime in here.
Sure, yeah, sort of the annoying sort of intro to our podcast, sort of telling everyone.
No, I loved it. I would actually only classify it as me being selfless, I was choking, couldn't breathe, and then I was like, but don't ruin his intro. Stifle that cough, like turn blue for the sake of your co-host. And then as soon as he stopped talking, you let it out, you know?
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, all right, I'll accept that. By the way, I was driving by the famous place, Tenants of the Trees. It's a place...
What's that?
Famous for some.
Yeah, not to me.
Famous for those of us who are cool. But famously, the other night, so I was driving by it, and there was a lot of hubbub. I actually didn't know it was still a club at night. I thought it was just a coffee shop.
Okay.
Whole hubbub. Next morning...
I do know this place. Okay.
Next morning... Seeing all I'm going, what's going on over there? Next morning, I'm seeing all the videos from Charlie XCX's birthday party. That's where it was. Where it was.
Alex texted me.
Was there?
No, she texted me and she said, why do I have the most FOMO for not going to Charlie XCX's birthday party? She was like, I haven't experienced FOMO in so long, and yet that's the thing that's done it. That means like Lorde and all of those people were in LA.
I was driving right by him in my little Mazda. Driving right by him.
Wow. I will say this. In watching that video, it still does look like they have an awkward friendship. Lorde and Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it did kind of feel like they both are, like, not really friends, but they're trying to, like, celebrate that.
Yeah.
moment.
And Lorde was trying to be, like, a little touchy with her, and Charlie was like, we're not kind of close like that.
But, because did you see the longer video? Because the beginning of the video, it's like, they're both kind of like when you're at a club and you're dancing with, like, someone who's, like a friend of a friend.
But kind of like, a little uncomfortable. But you and I are actually so Lorde and Charlie. You're Lorde in this instance.
I'm like trying to touch your hips. Trying to touch your hips.
And I'm like just kind of like scooching back.
Yeah, and you're literally like waving to other people.
I'm like, oh, that's nice. Yeah. Kind of like pushing you a little to the, you're like touching me. My arm jolts back. Yeah, that's kind of, it was so our dynamic.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see photos of the other celebrities in attendance?
Well, I saw that if you zoom out of that video, on the other side, it is Rachel Sennett and
she was
Molly,
right
whoever.
Did you see the image of not Ben Platt? I've got Platt on the brain. But always. Glenn Powell walking in. Did you see that photo?
No.
The person that you just last week said that you would sort of end it all for.
I would step on my neck. I didn't actually say that, but I will.
You didn't say that, but you did say that you would if you could. I say this with all the love in the world, he looks in that image like he's in his late 70s. There is something going on with his neck that is so confusing. Girl, so confusing. Featuring Lorde. Like, that's what the next one is about. It's with Glenn Powell. Do you happen to have a doll of the day, mother of the moment, sister of the second, Tim, a.k.a.
Dad Mom Sauce? Of course.
That's let me quickly.
Okay,
it's our
please.
segment where we talk about what we're super obsessed with at the moment, whether it's a person, place, or thing. Tim is holding in what appears to be vomit while I speak. Once again, here I am, sort of just trying to keep the pod moving, and now he is threatening to vomit on me.
Again, I would like to just point out that I'm holding it in while it's happening. I had a burp, listeners, and I held it in because I'm a lady.
Well, it looked like more than a burp, but
Yes, I have a dad mom sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself at my favorite establishment, Taco Bell, and I went to the bathroom.
oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Believe it or not, someone going to the bathroom at Taco Bell, unheard of.
Seems like a place. That seems like a line I wouldn't cross.
Yeah.
Not
well,
the place
sometimes
I'd
you
like
find
to.
yourself on a road trip and you haven't peed in a while and you gotta go.
Sure.
So I go in, and one of the things I have always been annoyed at, especially when you're on like a road trip and you find yourself in those like dirty bathrooms, is you wash your hands and then you have to touch the door handle to get out. And so it's like completely defeating the purpose.
Oh, you start from zero. You start from
it's
scratch.
like you might as well not have washed. It's like you might as well have never
My
washed
turn.
yeah. It's basically like you might as well have never washed your hands. So then I'm like, as I'm going to grab the handle, I notice that there's this little foot stopper thing at the bottom, and maybe people have known about this, but I have never seen it, and it is called a step and pull.
You've never heard of the step and pull.
I know, and I feel like someone else said this. I was like, I have never seen a step and pull. I don't know what rock I've been living under.
Well, they're not always there. They are not always there.
This is my first in the wild step and pull.
Wow.
And so I go to put my foot in there, and pull it back. I don't have to use the dirty handle. I'm on cloud nine. I run to Anthony, and like as we're ordering, I'm like, you will never guess what my dad mom sauce is. I said it in that moment that the next time I'm having dad mom sauce, it will be this step and pull at this here Taco Bell.
Dad mom sauce in the wild.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the step and pull is the next generation of hand hygiene. It's the final frontier.
And I also just like had fun like putting my foot in there slow. Like I felt like it was like the first time as a kid you must like step on an escalator and you think it's magic.
Yes.
I was like, ooh.
The way your shoe, no matter what shoe you're wearing, latches in.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like it knows. The technology knows to like.
It feels like I'm
in.
Cinderella, and and they're putting the shoe on. I'm like perfectly putting it there and then pulling it back. Like it feels. That is what I'm imagining. So I'm telling him.
You're the Camilla.
Camilla Cabello. Yeah.
I'm unfortunately Billy Porter. In that
one. I was gonna say you're actually Brandy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, scratch what I said.
Yeah, you're Brandy and I'm Whitney.
Okay.
Anyways, but then I'm like riding this high. We actually, which is a rarity, eat in the Taco Bell because it's a road trip. So usually we were just like we need a break.
Last time you and I went, you actually recommended it for dinner, and we sat
inside
there. Yeah, we sat. And
Okay. Well, let's
call it what it is. Not a rarity. Not a rarity. A normal occurrence.
In this grand scheme of how many times I've been there, I normally don't eat there unless I'm with you.
Sure.
And so, anyways, we're on this road trip, so I sat down. We sat down because we want a little break from the car. And then at the end, I was like, you know what? We're gonna be on the road again for a really long time. I might as well use the bathroom one last time. And obviously, my dad mom sauce is in there. I should give her one last whirl before I go.
Yeah, see if she's as great as you remember.
Exactly, from the 15 minutes prior.
Of course.
So I go back in there, do my business, wash my hands. I get very excited to put my foot back in there, and I'm animate, like slow motion putting it in there. Couldn't be happier. As I'm doing it, someone bursts through, completely hits me in the forehead. So there are some, cautionary tales with the step and pull that you don't think about, which is that someone on the other end will just push it open as you are trying to put your foot in.
Yeah, you got to keep your eyes up.
Eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
Do you have a dad mom sauce?
I do have a dad mom sauce.
What is it?
And well, see, I didn't think this was going to be a controversial take, but I want to say my dad mom sauce is season 2 of House of the Dragon, which you and I have discussed off pod. Mm-hmm. We both really loved.
Yes.
I very famously, and I think it's kind of not as uncommon of a thing as I thought, but season 1 was really rocky for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't loving it. I wasn't loving the pacing. I wasn't loving the time jumps. Call me crazy. I don't love time jumps on Game of Thrones.
Okay, you're crazy.
Well,
Sorry,
okay.
just came out.
Actually, I take that. Don't say that to me. I'll offer it up next time.
Okay, very confusing. Girl So
Girl So Confusing featuring Lord.
Featuring Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell and whatever was happening
Rachel
on his chin. Well, anyways, House of the Dragon season 2. Then I'm on Twitter. I'm thinking, wow, this show's improved so much. Mm-hmm. The drama, the stakes, everything. There's more dragons. It's been like legitimately thrilling. The acting is so good.
-1, I don't like. Sorry, I know this is an uplifting pod, but the man who plays
the evil one?
No, I think his name's Alan. He's like the ship guy who has a big emotional speech at the end of the
oh my
episode.
God.
I was like, I could do this monologue. And I should never feel like I could outact the person.
Oh my God. I know exactly what you're talking about. So my other Don Mom Sauce, Willie, who had us over to watch, we'll get to that I will get to that in a second. I kept saying, oh my God, this guy is so National Theatre Company in London. He's so West End. He was so like one of those dramatic, like modern retellings of like a Shakespeare play on the West End in London with like the most like LED light like coming from the stage. It's all like sparse. There's no set. He was serving like drama school down.
I just felt there was no subtlety in it, and it was like so overacting where it was like, I will not acknowledge you as my father.
It was so over the top.
Thank you, sir. And I was like, Jesus.
And then watching the after the episode, which is of course my favorite episodes, they had him talking and he was like, oh, my scene partner's so generous. He's like, I never even knew that was... I couldn't believe that came out of me. I was like, girl,
we can believe.
You were practicing that in the mirror at home for a long time.
I don't think he was practicing. If he is, I'm like, that performance. Listen, I don't want to yuck his yum even though I already have. Anyways, it is a good season. I agree with you. I think the LA Times actually said it wasn't a good season, and
people on Twitter are saying it wasn't good because they didn't like the cliffhanger, and I just thought that it also. By the way, do we forget that it's HBO and the episode before the finale is always the one that's good?
Yeah,
the finale we're always setting up next season.
Yeah, and this one, obviously, like the big show-stopping performance was from that man. That
Alan.
was what the finale was about. Yeah.
Yeah, he had 50 cents in a dream.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And he failed. Should we take a break?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's time for our Miss Thing of the Week.
And this woman is a star, an icon.
A true legend.
Truly a decades-long career. And also, like, disappears and comes back.
Yeah.
And still hits just as hard.
But never goes out of style. An it girl for the ages.
Oh, truly.
Yeah.
And our Miss Thing this week is Winona Ryder. I mean...
Wow.
Okay,
wow.
The credits. It's like Beetlejuice, and then you got Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, which...
Coming out this week.
Yeah, coming out, when we release this pod, which we are...
Recording this week as well.
Of course, and we've seen an early preview of it.
Yes.
What did you think?
Oh my God, I was blown away.
Absolutely blown away. Absolutely. Tim Burton has done it again.
Wow.
Winona plays Lydia Dietz, iconic character.
I mean, okay, so it's also, to get back to it, so it's Heathers, it's Edward Scissorhands, it's Little Women, it's Black Swan.
Oh my God, Black Swan I felt was like the big...
Her comeback.
Her comeback. You sucked his cock, didn't you? I think that's the line. I'm paraphrasing, I think, but there's something about you sucked his cock.
Yeah, that's like making me really uncomfortable.
Well, that's how uncompromising her performance was in that incredible film.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. And, of course, the reaction when Stranger Things won that award, when she's sort of standing on stage, sort of going,
Yeah.
Whoa! Iconic.
She is incredibly talented, and so of course she is successful and great. But it's like the thing I think I love about her is that she almost feels like a fluke of a star in the sense of like she feels like even back then in the 80s, it was like she was a little like
I think
left
90s.
of center. 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
80s was like
the
was like,
90s were the heyday though, because I felt like my sisters were obsessed.
Oh, 100.
She is so your sister's favorite actress. And style icon.
My sister listening to this right now is like, yes, Winona Ryder.
Yeah, it was her and Drew.
Yes.
But Drew, I felt like was maybe slightly more mainstream, even though she was bad girl. Like Winona was a star despite, like she became a star, like even though she didn't need it.
But that's what I'm saying. I think like when I say fluke, I mean that it's like she's not like I think on paper if someone would be like who's gonna be that, but it was just like I think she literally because she was cast by Tim Burton in Beetlejuice, then she kind of became the alternative girl, like the punk girl.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, I guess we need a punk girl to do these like more gothic-y things or whatever, and then she just became bigger and bigger in a way that I'm like, it felt like she wasn't meant to be a star, but then she was so goddamn talented that they could not deny her, and that is why she is Miss Thing.
I cannot actually think of an actress right now that is in that lane, like, because I feel like she's so she was so like alt cool, like she had the short hair, like she was kind of like a fashion icon, and I cannot even think of anyone right now who can compare. I think they're trying, like Jenna Ortega, sort of the heir apparent.
I was gonna say, and keep that in your head for a future game that may or may not happen later in the episode. Don't let me forget, because I probably will forget. I'll tease it famously and then forget to do the game.
Well, I don't think it's a good idea putting not forgetting in my hands.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to jump right in.
Please.
And talk about myself. Okay, so when I think of Winona, like everyone also thinks, the first credit that comes to their mind is the seminal film, Mr. Deeds.
Oh, right.
You remember that one. It's an Adam Sandler comedy from 2001. And I saw that as an 11-year-old, and I was...
gooped and gagged.
Gooped and gagged, quite literally. So the premise is basically she's pretending to be someone else to like kind of con Adam Sandler.
Sure.
And so at one point she is like pretending, she like walks into this house and she's pretending that this is her childhood home. And so she's giving a tour and like making up things that happened in her childhood to Adam Sandler. And so she's like walking through different rooms saying like what happened as a kid. And then at one point she like, there's a closed door and she is like, oh, and then this was my brother's room. And so she opens it and it's just a shelved closet. And then she goes, we didn't like him that much, and closes the door really quick. And me as an 11-year-old, I don't think I've ever to this day laughed as hard as that moment.
So funny.
It became my whole personality. I told everyone they had to see it, and then I would like watch them watch that scene, and I would laugh so hard I couldn't tell if they were laughing. I loved it so much.
That was me watching Golden Girls with literally anyone, because I'd seen every episode 800 plus times and knew every line, every setup, every punchline, and I would pre-laugh for them.
And I still have famously only seen like 3 episodes. I know it is something that I'm ashamed of myself for.
Yeah.
But not so Winona makes me think of closets for that reason.
Oh.
And so that makes me think of when I was a kid, going back in even more in time, my sister got bitten by a Dalmatian pretty gruesomely, and I was right next to her when it happened.
Well, you knew they were overbred after the film, and they all went crazy.
Well, and I was probably literally right around that time.
Oh, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The Dalmatian's back.
And she was bit on her back. And so anyways,
that's a weird place to get bit.
Yes, it was a very, like, gruesome moment in both of our lives. Even though, of course, like, it happened to her, but I'm taking it on. You know? But I was right there and, like, it, like, fully jumped on her. And so until I was, like, graduating high school, I was always very skittish / outright scared of big dogs because of this moment. And so, like, when I was 14, freshman in high school, I, like, had told this new friend that I was going to... that I was kind of skittish around big dogs, and I didn't. And then they were like, "Oh, you want to come over to study for some project?" And they're like, "Just as a heads up, I have a big dog." And I was like, "Oh, that's totally fine." And then we go. As they let me into the house, I see my friend behind her mom mouth the words, "I'm sorry." And then, and then I'm like, so I'm anticipating it being the dog, but instead it's not the dog, it's the mom. And the mom goes, "So I hear you're scared of big dogs." So confrontational as I'm opening the door.
They've clearly been talking about you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just like a little skittish, but it's fine." And she was like, "Well, you don't need to be afraid of our dog." And I was like, "Okay." Then the dog
Famous
comes,
last words.
Then the dog comes bounding over towards me, jumps up, and I just like flinch literally so minusculely.
Oh,
and
no.
the mom takes it so personally, as if I slapped her across the face. Me, like my own fear. And so then she's like, "You're afraid of our dog?" And I was like, "Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just a little skittish just because of this thing." And she was like, No, it's fine. We'll just put the dog in the closet. And like emphasizes closet.
What?
I was like, truly, what is going on?
People are so, my dog's the exception, though.
Yes, and they never are. And
No.
so I was like,
They're always the rule.
yeah. And I was very much like, feeling so uncomfortable because I was like, "No, please don't put your dog in the closet. Like, it's fine."
Right. I came here to study. I came here to learn.
Exactly.
I shouldn't be distracted by it.
And now I'm being
I'll
like
be fine.
shamed for my fear.
Yeah.
Whatever. So then we go downstairs to study. Then you can hear the dog whimpering, and I feel really bad. And she's literally like, "It's fine. Don't worry. Dog's just whimpering." And then I was literally like, couldn't do it. I kept saying to my friend, I was like, you can let the dog out. Like, it's fine. And she's like, "Don't worry." Like, she knew her mom, and she was like, don't take my mom seriously. Like, it's just on one, basically.
Wow.
And so, anyways, needless to say, I never went back to that house until it was her graduation party years later at the house. And so I remember being like, and also it had been 3 years. I got better with bigger dogs. I was less skittish. And I was also prepared to be like, "Do not flinch around this dog, or this mom will let you have it."
Yeah.
So I walk in, like anticipating, like I'm ready to just like get down with the dog and have fun. And my friend opens the door, and I'm like, "Oh, where's your dog?" And she's like, "Yeah, we sent the dog to a farm because it bit 2 people." An actual farm, by the way, not like what they say.
Farm. Yeah.
I was literally like, I could not believe after all of that the dog did bite 2 people. So I just want to say right here and right now to this mom, you look back, and when you're a kid, you're kind of like, "Oh, adults are always right. Like, I must have done something wrong." And then you get older, and you're like, that was not okay.
Absolutely. That mom is so the opposite of Winona's famous character, Joyce Byers, who is so on Stranger Things.
Right.
Who is so like, everything is scary, and we're just gonna sort of deal with it. Yeah. Joyce Byers is a little skittish, though, I would say. I think her name is Joyce Byers, and I'm just going with that.
I nodded, pretending like I knew who Joyce Byers was, but I'm really...
Is it Nancy Byers?
Nancy Botwin.
Nancy Botwin. Yeah. From Weeds. That is
How is that like... lodged.
I don't know how that came out.
Yeah, I literally like can't remember. I didn't remember that we were even doing Winona until 30 seconds before, and yet Nancy Botwin came out so easily.
I also love that you have been calling her Winona Hard I.
Oh, you think it's
and
Winona?
I think I've always called her Winona, but I'm also like now second guessing myself. But I think it's both. You
might be right, but maybe I'm thinking of Winona Judd.
We're doing a hybrid Winona.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where I don't usually say her name. I just stand in awe and watch.
Oh, of course, as we're all want to do.
Greg, how do you make Winona all about you?
Well, there is one. I mean, Winona has such a non-stop storied career, spans decades. Ultimate cool girl, we've already gotten into all of that. But the most important thing that she's ever done, in my opinion, is, of course, be the leader of the Free Winona movement. That is, of course, after she was caught shoplifting $5,500 worth of clothing and accessories from Saks Fifth Avenue.
Iconic.
Like the original like celebrities steal too. Celebrities like People
Well,
with
it's like-
money do bad things as well.
It's also like the original, we're all human. And just because you're successful doesn't mean you're infallible.
Absolutely, and we want what we want, and we don't necessarily want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So this reminds me of a time that I was invited to an Oscars party, an Oscars after party,
Okay.
maybe like, I want to say 7-8 years ago
Okay.
at this point. It was no Vanity Fair after party, I will tell you that. But there was the promise of food because it was
Okay.
at a restaurant.
Yeah.
So you had to like dress up. It was an Oscars night. You know, there's the promise of celebrity. There's the promise of food. There's the promise of drink. And most importantly, there's the promise of a gift bag. So this is the gifting idea.
Yeah.
Especially around like the Oscars time, you know, a lot of these celebrities go to these events. They don't get paid, but with the promise of sort of gifts.
The gift bag.
We get there all the way across town. It's at this restaurant close to my friend and I get there. I'm not going to share their name.
Okay.
Because of what we may have gotten into that
Let's
night.
call her Winona.
Yeah, let's call her Winona.
Okay.
Exactly. It was at a restaurant over by the Beverly Center.
Okay.
We get there in our finest.
Jeans
We get
and a
there,
t-shirt.
and the party is mobbed. It's mobbed. And it becomes clear that there's going to be no cool celebrity sightings. The food is impossible to get because people are like hanging around the kitchen, like where they exit, so that they'll pounce on the servers. Can't get a drink at the bar. We're like, well, we've got to get our gift bags and go. So turns out the gift bags weren't going to start being given out for another hour and a half. So we're like, fuck, we're going to need to figure out how to kill some time until the gift bags come out and then we can get out of here. So the party was sponsored by famous liquor Crown Royal.
Oh, okay.
It's something that I've never had before. But that was sort of like the specialty drink at the
also,
bar.
Crown, please sponsor us.
Of course, and you're really gonna want to after you hear this story. So there were like also like huge bottles of it, just like everywhere, like on tables. It was like being displayed everywhere. Cut to us maybe like we're struggling to find people to talk to us. Cut to us maybe like an hour later at a chocolate fountain tasting bar, which is the only food you can access, with the biggest celebrity there, local Billboard hairdresser Chaz Dean. And let
Wait, do you know who I said? Sorry, I'm totally derailing you, but do you know who I just saw like an hour before we started recording?
You were up?
Chris, I know, can you believe? Chris
Kirkpatrick.
No, the Kim Kardashian's hairstylist.
Chris Appleton.
I was going to say Appleton, but that didn't sound right.
You saw him where?
I was in West Hollywood, and
You were in West Hollywood? What the fuck?
I have a life outside of this
Okay,
podcast. As much as you protest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was in West Hollywood, and he was being driven in like a black Escalade, window down, and honestly through West Hollywood, and honestly, like he was being hoping to be noticed.
So Dina Lohan that one night I saw her at CVS.
Yes, 100%. And yet he was noticed by me, but I forgot about it until just now. I was like, oh wait, I think that's Chris Appleton just like kind of being paraded around at like at 10 a.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah, doing the Dina Lohan pap stroll.
Yeah,
I love it. But yeah, I'd say Chaz Dean's sort of the lesser Chris Appleton.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily sure he's doing celebrities
surrounding him.
Yeah, he does. He has some controversies, and of course, he is the second most famous Billboard artist behind the girl on Shenyang.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but and for someone who allegedly does hair, he wasn't the best conversationalist. But so we're there.
Wait, you talked to him?
Yes. We were at that was the only thing you could like access, but you of course had to wait in line to get to the chocolate fountain.
Shoulder length?
Or short? It was long. Okay. It was shoulder length.
Okay.
Flat ironed, just doing a lot of very confusing things. Very, very silky.
And listeners, so it's like I don't know if he's like famous outside of LA, but you should look him up. Chaz Dean. He has very famous billboards of himself
all over
just
town.
to like cut hair, and it's the most over the top, most iconic billboards in a way that Greg and I are just iota seconds away from doing those billboards ourselves.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, we can learn a thing or two. He's an absolute local legend. Impossible to talk to. So we're there, we're dipping like marshmallows or whatever in the chocolate fountain while they're trying to tell us like why it's good. I'm not totally sure. And all of a sudden there's a huge commotion. The gifting suite has opened. Turns out it was a closet with a woman who was like, stand back! Because everyone was like aggressively, attacking. So we had to wait in line, of course, for that. By the time we get up there, they're like, we're out of bags. You can only get one to share. And I was like, you motherfuckers. Yeah. We have been at this hole party.
You have made us talk to Chaz Dean of all people. You can't imagine the suffering we have been through.
Yeah. And he acted like he didn't want to talk to us. It's like, hello.
Yeah.
We're like keeping this party alive. So we're fucking pissed. Yeah. And we're like, we got to get out of here now. But like, we didn't even get the promise of the premise. So my friend goes, why don't we take some of these Crown Royale bottle? Mind you, it is this big.
Okay, so Greg is basically motioning like basically a yoga ball.
Yeah, like the ball that you do abs on.
Yeah.
It was so big. And they were like, actually, let's take two. Because they're everywhere. So, of course, I'm terrified. I'm terrified that I'm going to get, like, caught. I'm going to be, like, on cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already seeing the wanted dead or alive signs on the wall. Like, but we stuff it in the bag.
You're dragging it across the floor.
The bag is so heavy. It's, like, so bulky. We're full, like, kid on another kid's shoulder, trench coat, top hat, like pretending we're an adult, like so obvious. We're like, let's get the fuck out. So we get out there, we're like running, and we get a safe distance away, only to discover. So we each take one of the bottle and then go to divvy up the bag. Yeah. It's a bunch of fucking Chaz Dean Wen hair products. In that bag. It's full of Chaz Dean Wen, which if you don't know anything about that, there is, I believe, a class action lawsuit about this because Wen apparently makes your hair fall out. So we're like, fuck. Wait, so we can't even re-gift that because people love to have hair.
Did you even get the Crown Royale or no?
So anyway, we're like, okay, well, let's cut our losses. We'll each take a huge bottle of this Crown Royale and go about our lives. Neither of us ever having that before, but I guess it's like a fancy liquor. So cut to a few weeks later, I'm at home. My husband and I were looking for something to do. I think we're like watching a show. I'm like, hey, why don't we crack open the Crown Royale, have a nice little drink? Like we have plenty. Yeah. But let's treat ourselves. So my husband goes over. He's like, he starts undoing like the wrapping, whatever. And he's like trying to like get the cap off. Yeah. He cannot get the cap off of this bottle. It's like it's really on there. He's like, can you come over? I'm over there. I'm trying to yank it off, trying to like chisel the thing. It will not budge.
Oh no.
A moment later, he's looking at the bottle. He goes, Wait a second. This says not fit for human consumption. This was prop alcohol.
Oh.
Prop alcohol. That was like the heaviest thing I've ever carried in my life. It was like
cement.
Like, what if we cracked that open and drank that? That would have been worse than if I drank like Wen.
I don't know about that.
The Greg Trimmer urge to drink a non-alcoholic
thing.
Yeah. Greg Trimmer urge to drink a non-alcoholic beverage that he thinks is alcohol.
Okay, I didn't, thank God, and you didn't remind me, but we'll talk about that off
about to.
I have a game for you.
Well, yeah, I did just finish my story, so of course.
Well, and then okay, so hold on. I'm readjusting as I get my laptop.
Okay.
Are you ready for my game, Greg?
I am. I hope.
Okay. So my game is called Winona Ryder or Jenna Ortega.
Okay, those are my two options.
Yes, those are your two options.
Okay.
And I'm going to read you a quote, and you have to tell me. Because the premise of this game, to back up, is like, yes, Jenna is trying to be the heir, or maybe she's not, but the world is basically saying she is the heir apparent to Winona.
It's the Wednesday of it all.
The
It's
Wednesday,
the Tim Burton.
Yes, and also
connection.
Exactly, and then she's playing her daughter in Beetlejuice.
Yes,
Beetlejuice.
yes.
And so right now, I'm going to read you a quote, and you have to say which of these two
said it. Okay.
Okay, first one. I'm not tech savvy.
Winona Ryder.
Jen Ortega.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you can't pay enough money to cure that feeling of being broken and confused.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jenna Ortega.
Winona.
Oh.
Winona. I'm so in my head about if it's Winona.
And I think it works either way.
People don't realize how much tension they hold in their forearms.
That's a Jenna Ortega jam.
Winona.
Oh.
Okay. I feel my best when I'm happy.
Winona.
You are correct.
Okay.
1 of 4.
All right. Well, we don't need to be keeping score as we go.
I'm the kind of person who tends to believe what they believe in.
I'm the kind of person who tends to believe what they believe in. That, to me, sounds like... I'm going to give that to Winona. Okay. I guess I'm not too familiar with either of their interviews.
Yeah, I'm picking hard ones too.
Yeah,
you know?
okay. But very deep ones.
Yes, these are like life mottos for everyone to live by.
Sure.
Especially the forearms one.
Yeah.
I learned that it's okay to be flawed.
Gonna give that to Jenna.
Winona.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, last one. Last one, and this one is probably the deepest of them all.
Okay.
Animation is a completely different world than live action.
Winona.
Jenna.
When has she done an animation?
I don't know. I feel like probably like an animated Tim Burton movie. Who knows?
Animation is a completely different world than live.
Yeah, and I just want to take a moment, maybe a moment of silence here on the pod for these like groundbreaking quotes and thoughts that we've now added to your lives.
Yeah, that their publicists sort of crafted in
Yeah.
a lab somewhere for them to impart on us. That's beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
I have a game for you.
Bring it on, Greg.
Let me get my trusty MacBook. So I have a game for you called Take My Money or Quick in the Bag, honey. I'm going to list a few things that you would gladly purchase.
Okay.
Or you'll
Or
gladly
steal.
take it, but not spend your hard-earned money
God, I
on
love
that.
this. Okay.
Yeah. First item, $5,500 worth of clothing and accessories from Saks Fifth Avenue.
Wait, remind me what the two were.
Take my money or quick in the bag, honey.
Okay. Quick in the bag, honey. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence's Oscar for Silver Linings Playbook. Assuming, she doesn't have space for it in her new home. She's selling it.
I feel like she would give it to me. So I'm gonna say, like, I think in this world we're already friends, and she's just like, I don't need it.
But she's not. She's selling it. She's selling it.
I go over there to pay her,
Oh,
and
sure.
I say like, I will give you whatever, and she's like, oh my God, I love you. You know what? It's yours for free. And so then I'm just quick in the bag, honey.
Okay. All right. So you're sort of bending the rules there, but this is quite an unusual game.
Yeah.
So I will give you that. Sandra Bullock's Oscar for The Blind Side.
She can have it. She can have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Green Book's Oscar for Best Picture.
That's another one where I'm not going to pay for that, nor do I want it in my bag.
So you're going to leave it where?
I'm gonna leave it right where
leave
it
it
is.
for the next potential
You know, with
thief.
Sandra Bullock's, I might take it and then put a plaque on it for gravity. And say, this is actually for gravity.
Love that. Okay, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. Tickets to Adele in Munich, including flight and accommodations.
Take my money, honey.
Okay. Tickets to Katy Perry's upcoming world tour, front row, and VIP backstage passes, food and drink not included, for $30 American.
I guess for 30, take my money, honey.
35?
Don't push it.
Okay. Well, that's it.
Love the game.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for playing. Shall we take a break?
Let's take a break. Welcome back.
It's time for Diva Down. Diva Down, of course, is our segment where we give unsolicited advice to something, a person, place, or thing right now that needs some help, that needs our gay male sort of advice and support. And that person is, of course...
the Olympian with the big dick.
Yeah.
Who... he's a pole vaulter from France?
From France. Anthony,
from the home country. Yes. What's his name?
Anthony Ammirati, now famous pole dancer.
Pole dancer. he should become one.
I think that's he's got a new career doing that. The pole vaulter who, of course, his Olympic dreams were dashed when his huge dong sort of knocked over the bar. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think I understand from his perspective, this is why he's down, because he spent his whole career trying to go over this bar, and then it's all dashed just because of his huge, massive dong. It hits the pole, and then he is disqualified or whatever. I don't know if it's disqualified or he just gets bad scores and he's out.
Yeah, he's not qualifying for a medal.
This is my advice to you, Anthony. LOL, so funny. I didn't realize his name was Anthony.
Girl, so confusing.
Name
edition.
Yeah, exactly. One, I have two pieces of advice.
Okay.
One, next time, wear underwear. You probably are aware that you have a big appendage. Mm-hmm. So just strap on another pair of tight underwear so that's not an issue.
Yeah, sort of bind yourself or tuck.
Yes. You don't even have to tuck. I just think it felt like he was kind of freeballing it.
Yeah.
In that spandex, which I will say we all benefit from that. Mm-hmm. And so the second advice is really for him and for the world's pleasure, which is
don't wear underwear.
Don't wear. Yeah, wear a see-through spandex for us all.
Yeah.
Is honestly, start an OnlyFans. Like you should start an OnlyFans, and immediately you would probably make $1 million because everyone is talking about this. Even if you only did it for like a month or whatever, I'm just saying like you should turn these lemons into lemonade.
Yeah.
And if this is what and also the advice for you is like, even if you're feeling down, it's like, if you're now known as the guy who has a massive dick, it's like, celebrate that. Use that,
Seriously. No, I completely agree. I think, he won something so much more valuable than the gold medal, or even any medal at the Olympics. He won the adoration of women and gay men everywhere. And that is not easy to do. And just, I want to say overnight, but it's over pole. In a moment, his life changed in ways that he couldn't have imagined, and he trained his whole life for it.
In a moment, our lives changed.
In a moment, the world changed.
Thank you, Anthony.
Of those things, before, you'll never forget where you were at the time, and you just knew that life would never be the same. Pre-poll, post-poll. Yeah, exactly.
You're living in a post-poll world. And thank you, Anthony, for that.
Yes, thank you. And also, I mean, it's sort of like the ultimate culmination, too, in a way, not only of his athletic prowess, but remember that trend that was happening for a few months where these random straight boys online were putting, huge like
like a cucumber.
dildos
Yeah.
and shit in their pants and like making us believe that they're actually like insanely hung. It's just
We didn't believe it.
Yeah. No, you weren't doing it right. You guys, look to Anthony Ammirati, I believe his name is, and see, look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's doing it better than all you hoes, and you can't even try. You can't even come close. But my advice.
Please.
My advice is to, take care. Take care of that thing. Do your male kegels. Because you said something to me off pod the other day that has been sticking with me. It's been keeping me up at night. And you were asking if I'd rather have a wrinkly dick or low-hanging balls. And that is just the imagery, the nightmares.
I only ask highbrow questions. I don't know what he's talking about.
Just over lunch. You asked that. And I had never really thought of that. And now it sort of keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
That one or the other, or both, God forbid, could happen. And we don't want that to happen here. Mm-mm. And we don't want that to happen to you, Anthony. So just do your exercises. I mean, obviously you're very fit. You're very in shape. And I also, I'll piggyback off yours, start an OnlyFans, because I think you will.
We all benefit from that. You benefit, we benefit. You know.
And do a free week trial for those of us who are
podcasters.
Struggling financially. But that's all I got. Godspeed, Anthony, and of course Winona and Winona. Jenna Ortega, we wish you so well. Chaz Dean.
Yes.
Good luck with the lawsuits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
We did it.
We did it. Miss Thing Podcast is created, executive produced, and hosted by Greg Trimmer and Tim Zientek.
It's produced and edited by Benji Simons, with cover art and additional creative support by Claude Zeins.
Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Miss Thing the Pod.
New episodes drop every Tuesday. Watch on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Please subscribe, rate, and review, but only raves. Strictly 5 stars and above.
Follow Greg at Greg Trimmer and Tim at Tim_Zientek on all social media. Bonk.